Let's talk about that beautiful compost pile I have going on back here. This pile is easily 5 foot tall and probably 8 to 10 feet at the base. I want to show you sort of my process and some of the ingredients that's going into this pile to make beautiful compost for our farm. These big compost piles that I've been doing here on the farm over the last 5 years or so, they take a while to process because I'm not managing them like a small hot pile. I used to do that and it was really nice, but it was also a lot of time, my time to go out and turn the piles all the time, remembering to do it. Even though I did enjoy that process and that work, it was extra things to do on the farm. So what I've decided to do instead is to make these big piles and let them process in the big piles for a year or two, and in some cases 3 years. And that time and the ingredients really makes a nice compost. This pile is only about 4 or 5 months old, and you can see it's already looking really nice. It's getting heated up in the middle. You can see it's breaking down nicely. Lots of bacterial activity going on in there. The main ingredients for this pile are wood chips, horse manure, kitchen scraps, that's a very small percentage, and these chunks. Let me show you, I got some that didn't break down, didn't get into the pile, but I have chunks of mushroom blocks from a local farmer that does mushrooms, and when the mushrooms in each block are done, he just discards these blocks, and I get to break them down and put them into my compost pile. Today, Luke and I went over to that farm and picked up some more mushroom blocks. We're going to be adding those. I also want to show you the lettuce that he let us pick out of his greenhouse because it had bolted and couldn't go to market. So we're going to be feeding that to the chickens and the tortoises. You can see I have these blocks. I got to take them out of the plastic, break them down, get them back to the pile, but also this huge pile of lettuce that we're going to be giving to the tortoises and the chickens. Look at all that lettuce. We have some red and green lettuce in here. It's all bolted and not good for to eat really anymore. It gets kind of bitter once it bolts. So we're going to carry it over here to Coco and Jack the tortoises and see if they want some. They usually go nuts over it. Well, as much as tortoises can go nuts. Hey Coco, look, lettuce. Oh, there he goes. Look how nuts he's going. Yep, pretty crazy. Well, we don't want to leave Jack out. You want some lettuce, Jack? I'll go get you a handful. Don't get scared. It's food. He tends to go a little less nuts. He's a lot slower. Oh, I walk toward the coop and they think I'm going to throw food. I did throw food. It's over here. Oh well, they'll figure it out when I walk away. It won't go to waste. Now I will say that that lettuce, even if I didn't have chickens and tortoises, I could have taken it and added it to the compost pile, and it would have been a great nitrogen source to help build that compost pile a little faster. While I'm out here, it's always really cool to stand underneath the Texas native persimmon trees at this time of year because they have these little tiny flowers that the bees love. So you can stand under the tree and just hear the hum and the buzz of the bees. Now we'll get these bags pulled out, get all of the mushroom compost or the substrate and mushroom waste broken out of the bags and put into my tractor bucket, and then we'll get them back to the pile. Some of the mushroom varieties, I don't know all of them, but King Blue, Lion's Mane. This one is the Pio Pino or whatever it's called. There's just a whole sort. Blue Oyster, If you're in the New Braunfels, Texas area on Saturday mornings, I would suggest you go visit Rising Kale Farms at the farmers market, because this is the tail end of the mushrooms. It's not good anymore, it's not very pretty, but what he displays and what he sells is amazing. I have noticed that breaking it down with a shovel here at this stage, getting that shovel up in here, basically just dumping these whole into here, getting a layer, breaking it up with the shovel, that helps it add to the pile easier, so I don't have big clumps that sit there for 6 months. These mushrooms are grown in a hardwood substrate, which is basically like a hardwood sawdust that gets put in the bags and sterilized, and then they inoculate it with whatever spores they need to. I'm not the mushroom farmer, so some of what I say might be slightly incorrect, but basically they just sterilize a bunch of sawdust, inoculate it, grow it in bags, take the first few fruitings off that are good for harvest, and then basically the bags are just spent after that, and then they need to be discarded. Back here at the pile, I'm just going to give you a look at how I'm incorporating the new stuff into the old stuff. This will likely be the last time that I add anything to this pile before I shut it down, let it sit for a year or so. So we're just going to take this, kind of pull back a little bit, add it to the side, and then cover it up with the rest of the pile. So after working the tractor for about 15 or 20 minutes, getting the pile moved slightly over and piled up on top of itself, that's it for this pile. The most that will happen to this pile over the next year is probably every 3 or 4 months I'll just come and turn it with the tractor. I'm depending on rain for the moisture, so in the middle of the summer when there's no rain, no moisture, it'll probably just sit and I won't turn it. But it'll probably get turned 3 or 4 times before I utilize that pile in a year or so. Some of the piles that we've maintained over the past that are back here are 3 and 4 years old. Most of it's used up. I've used it on the garden, on the farm, around trees. I love compost and I love the process of it. I love sharing it. If you got anything out of this, if you could comment down below just maybe one tip that you got, or just say, hey, thanks Mama Kirbs for holding the camera for a little bit. And remember, everyone has a story and every story counts. Your story counts. Thank you so much for being a part of my story through this video and letting me be a part of yours.